They say the Carolina coast keeps secrets, deadly secrets. And in 1714, one pirate captain was about to vanish, with 42 prisoners. The wind howled over the Carolina shores, the waves crashed like thunder against jagged rocks. Fishermen whispered of a man, feared by merchants, hated by governors. A pirate, not just any pirate. He had a name that made sailors shiver in the dead of night. Some called him ruthless, others unstoppable. He appeared suddenly, like a shadow slipping between islands. His ship, the Crimson Serpent, was as notorious as its captain. Black sails, blood-red trim, cannons ready, always ready. No one knew where he came from. Some said he was born in the Caribbean, stolen by pirates as a boy. Others claimed he was a former Navy officer, turned rogue after betrayal. But all agreed on one thing. He had a taste for power and fear. The Carolina coast was a dangerous place. Colonial ports were lightly guarded. Rich cargo floated along the inlets, ripe for the taking. And this pirate knew every hidden cove and secret bay. One summer night in 1714, a merchant ship named HMS Providence drifted near Cape Fear. Its hold was packed with goods, sugar, tobacco, and a chest rumored to hold gold. The Crimson Serpent struck without warning. Cannons roared, screams pierced the air. Men fell, timber splintered, the sea drank the cries. By dawn, the merchant ship was gone. But more than cargo vanished. 42 men, prisoners as they were called, were taken aboard the pirate ship. Some were sailors, others were wealthy passengers. All were terrified. All wondered, why them? The captain walked the deck that morning, eyes sharp, every scar on his face a story of death and survival. He stared at the prisoners. He didn't speak. His silence was a blade. "They'll live if they obey," he said, voice like gravel. No one dared challenge him. He had a way of looking into a man's soul and deciding if it deserved to survive. Rumors of the captain spread quickly. Villagers whispered about his cunning. Some claimed he could read the wind. Others swore he had a compass that never failed, guiding him to treasure or doom. The prisoners huddled below deck. Chains rattled. Fear was thick as smoke. Some prayed, some plotted. Some whispered that the captain was not entirely human. Something about him seemed otherworldly. As the sun rose higher, the ship sailed deeper into uncharted waters. Hidden bays, fog-shrouded inlets, places no map had ever recorded. The captain moved like a ghost among the ropes and sails, every order precise, every move calculated. And the prisoners? They began to notice things, strange noises at night, shadowy figures on the deck that vanished when approached, the smell of salt and blood mixing in the air, and sometimes faint whispers calling names that weren't there. But no one dared speak, not yet. The pirate captain's plan was unknown. Was he seeking treasure, revenge, something else entirely? Even the crew didn't know the full story, only that their captain was always 3 steps ahead and death followed his trail. And so the Crimson Serpent sailed, carrying its terrifying secret, and 42 prisoners whose fate was slowly being written in the tides, in the wind, in the shadows. If you want to uncover what happens next, the secrets of the ship, the whispers in the night, and the mysterious disappearance of 42 prisoners, make sure you share this video, comment your thoughts, and subscribe so you don't miss the next chilling part of this story. The captain had a secret, a plan that no one could guess. And the 42 prisoners were about to realize just how powerless they really were. The Crimson Serpent cut through fog like a blade. Water hissed along its hull. The sky was gray, heavy with rain clouds, the perfect cover for a pirate and his secrets. Below deck, the prisoners whispered in fear. Chains rattled with every wave. Some prayed to God, some cursed the sea, some stared at each other, wondering who might betray whom first. The captain appeared on deck. Rain-slicked hair, eyes like storm clouds. His gaze swept the horizon, then down to the prisoners below. No mercy, only calculation. "You will learn," he said, voice low, "that obedience is survival." The prisoner shivered, not from cold, from understanding. He wasn't bluffing, not ever. The crew worked in silence. Men who had sailed with him before knew better than to question orders. But even they were uneasy this time. Something about this voyage felt different. The captain had a map. Not any map. A map of hidden channels, forgotten islands, and secret inlets along the Carolina coast. Places where treasure lay, and where no one could follow. Rumors among the crew said he had a compass that pointed not north, but to danger and opportunity. Some swore they had seen him holding it at night, muttering to himself, tracing invisible paths in the dark. Below deck, the prisoners began to notice patterns. Strange noises, footsteps that didn't belong, chains dragged across the floor when no one was there. Whispers carried through the wooden walls, soft and chilling. One man, a merchant named Jonathan Price, leaned close to another prisoner. He said, "They're hiding something. They've brought us here for a reason we don't yet see." The other man, trembling, whispered back, I think this captain wants more than gold." Above deck, the captain watched the clouds. He could sense it. The storm was coming. Not just the one in the sky, the one in human hearts. The prisoners were restless, the crew suspicious, and the sea unpredictable. That night, the fog rolled in thick. The ship seemed to float between two worlds. Shadows danced along the deck. A lantern flickered, then went out. A scream echoed, but no one saw anything. The captain didn't sleep. He moved silently, inspecting ropes, sails, and men. Each prisoner's behavior, each crewman's glance, noted, stored, calculated. By the second day, tension on the ship was unbearable. The prisoners argued, the crew avoided eye contact, and the captain, he smiled only once. A quick flash, a warning. He had a plan that no one could stop. He was taking the prisoners somewhere hidden, somewhere no map had dared to mark. And the sea, the Carolina coast, would swallow them whole if anyone tried to follow. Some nights, the prisoners claimed they saw shadows moving beneath the water, figures with glowing eyes, shapes larger than men. They screamed, they prayed. The captain just listened from above, silent, knowing, untouchable. The crew whispered among themselves. "He's cursed," one said. "No, he's not cursed," another replied. "He's inevitable." By the third day, fear had become a living thing on the ship. It breathed in the prisoners' lungs. It weighed on the crew's shoulders. Even the waves seemed sharper, angrier, as if warning any who might interfere. And still, the captain sailed on. Always watching, always plotting. 42 prisoners, bound, terrified, every step bringing them closer to a fate no one could imagine. If you want to see what happens when the captain's plan unfolds and how the prisoners confront the impossible, share this video, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to uncover the next terrifying chapter of this pirate mystery. Something was moving beneath the waves, and the prisoners began to realize that on this ship, the sea wasn't their only enemy. Night had fallen over the Carolina coast. The fog was thick, curling around the Crimson Serpent like ghostly fingers. Lanterns swayed on the deck, casting long shadows that twisted and shivered. Below deck, the 42 prisoners huddled together. Chains clinked with every shiver, every tremble of fear. They whispered about what they had seen that day. Strange shapes in the water. A shadowy figure passing silently across the deck. The captain, always watching, always knowing. One prisoner, a young sailor named Thomas, pressed his back against the wall. He spoke in a trembling voice. "Did you hear that? Someone is walking above us." The others froze. Footsteps echoed, soft, deliberate. Then silence. The captain stood on deck, his coat flapping in the wind, eyes scanning the horizon, hands resting lightly on the hilt of his cutlass. He never slept, he never relaxed. To him, fear was a tool, and he wielded it perfectly. The prisoners began noticing patterns. At night, lanterns flickered without reason. Ropes tightened as if by unseen hands. Some of the crew disappeared for hours, returning with haunted eyes and silent mouths. One prisoner dared to whisper, "He's hiding something down there, something in the hold." Another replied, "Perhaps it's treasure, or something worse." The sea was restless. Waves grew taller. The wind carried strange cries like the voices of the lost. The captain's ship seemed to drift between reality and nightmare. On the third night, a scream shattered the stillness. A crewman had fallen overboard. No one saw him go, no one heard him hit the water. And when the lanterns flickered back to life, he was gone, vanished, like he had never existed. The prisoners whispered among themselves, "They're not just pirates, they're monsters, and he's the worst of them all." The captain called them to the deck. 42 prisoners stood, chained and trembling. He circled them slowly. "You think you understand," he said, voice low and dangerous, "but you have no idea what the sea demands. And what I take with purpose." Below deck, Thomas noticed something strange. A hatch leading to a lower chamber, one the captain never opened to the crew. A faint glow pulsed beneath the floorboards, rhythmic, like a heartbeat. He pressed his ear close. A whisper, a chant, impossible words that made his blood run cold. The days blended into nights. Time had no meaning aboard the Crimson Serpent. Food and water were rationed. Fear was abundant, and the prisoners began to notice the captain never slept. Rumors spread among the crew. Some swore the captain had made a pact with something in the deep. Others said he could summon storms at will, bend the waves to his command. And still he sailed farther from the coast, into uncharted waters. One evening, as the sun bled into the horizon, a prisoner finally spoke out. "Where are we going?" The captain's eyes glinted in the dying light. "To a place no man has ever returned from. And soon you will all understand why 42 prisoners were not enough." The tension reached a breaking point. Chains rattled, knives were hidden in pockets, whispers turned to plotting. And the captain? He smiled. Not a friendly smile. A smile that promised chaos, danger, and the impossible. The sea was watching. The ship was alive. And the prisoners were about to learn that the world they knew had no power here. If you want to discover the horrors that awaited the prisoners, the secrets of the captain's hidden chamber, and the mysterious powers at play on the Crimson Serpent, share this video, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to witness the next terrifying chapter. The fog thickened. The prisoners began to realize the captain wasn't just dangerous, he was unpredictable, and the sea itself obeyed him. The Crimson Serpent sailed deeper into uncharted waters. Mist clung to the hull like a shroud. The waves whispered secrets no man dared repeat. Below deck, the 42 prisoners grew restless. Chains chafed their wrists. Hunger gnawed at their stomachs. Fear had become a living, breathing thing. Whispers spread. Some claimed they had glimpsed ghostly figures on the deck at night. Some said the water moved unnaturally, as if alive. And one sailor swore he saw the captain walking across the waves, his coat dripping, unafraid of the ocean's fury. The captain appeared on deck at dusk. The sun was a burning orange on the horizon. He ran a hand over his cutlass, polished and glinting. His eyes scanned the prisoners. "You think you understand the sea," he said. "You think you can survive by cleverness or prayer. You cannot. You will learn only by obedience." The prisoners exchanged nervous glances. Some began to whisper of escape. Others prayed for death, thinking it kinder than the unknown. That night, the sea changed. The waves grew taller, darker. The wind howled through the rigging like a chorus of the damned. Lightning split the sky. Thunder shook the ship. Yet the captain remained calm, almost exhilarated. Below deck, strange things began to happen. Chains rattled without movement. Footsteps echoed on empty corridors. A faint glow pulsed from the hidden hatch in the hold. Thomas pressed his ear against it, hearing whispers that chilled his blood. A prisoner finally spoke aloud, voice trembling. "We should act. We can't stay here. Something is wrong with this ship." Others nodded, some silently plotting, some too terrified to move. Above deck, the captain laughed. It was a low, cruel sound that carried across the storm. The crew shivered. Even the strongest men felt the bite of fear. He moved with a predator's grace, assessing every glance, every twitch. By the second day, the prisoners began noticing patterns. Rations were irregular. Certain crew members disappeared for hours, returning pale and silent. Strange symbols were carved into the wooden beams of the ship, symbols no one recognized. Some whispered they were warnings. Others said they were invitations. One night, Thomas watched from below as the captain unlocked the hidden hatch. A faint green glow spilled out. He saw figures moving in the shadows. Figures bound, bent, whispering, chanting in a language older than the sea itself. A scream pierced the night. Lanterns swung violently. Men stumbled, falling into the shadows. The prisoners huddled together, terrified, hearing the captain's laughter above them. The storm reached its peak. The Crimson Serpent pitched violently. Waves crashed over the deck. The prisoners cried. The crew prayed. And the captain? He steered the ship as if the storm were a toy. Nothing could touch him. Nothing. Whispers of mutiny began to rise. The prisoners plotted in secret. Some tried to loosen chains. Others whispered of knives hidden in their boots. But fear was a stronger chain than iron. Fear kept them obedient. The sea had secrets. The captain had secrets. And the prisoners were trapped in a cage of both. If you want to see what happens when fear turns to rebellion and when the captain's dark secrets are finally revealed, share this video, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to follow the next chilling chapter of this pirate horror. Rebellion was in the air, and the captain knew it. The prisoners were about to learn some storms cannot be survived. The storm had passed, but the tension remained. The Crimson Serpent cut through calm waters as if nothing had happened. Yet below deck, fear had mutated into something else. anger. The 42 prisoners whispered in the shadows. Chains rattled as they moved quietly. Eyes darted, hearts pounded. This was their chance, their one chance to strike. Thomas leaned close to a fellow prisoner. "We can take them," he whispered. "Tonight we make our move." But not all agreed. Some were paralyzed by terror. Some feared the captain more than death. Yet the seed of mutiny had been planted. Above deck, the captain prowled. He seemed to know every thought, every heartbeat. Even in calm weather, he was a storm. The crew glanced at him nervously. He didn't smile, not yet. As night fell, the prisoners quietly unshackled themselves. Knives were drawn, whispered plans. The hatch to the lower chamber glowed faintly, a lure no one could resist. Suddenly, a scream cut through the ship. A crewman had discovered the prisoners moving. Chaos erupted. Chains fell, knives clashed. The deck became a battlefield. The captain emerged from the shadows. Rain and moonlight streaked across his face. "Fools!" he shouted. His cutlass flashed like lightning. Every strike precise, deadly. The prisoners fought desperately, but the captain was everywhere. He moved like a shadow, striking, disappearing, reappearing. Men fell, screams echoed across the waves. Below deck, Thomas and a small group tried to reach the glowing hatch. The strange light pulsed like a heartbeat. Whispers rose from the shadows. The air was thick, heavy, unnatural. One prisoner hesitated. I can't," he whispered. Thomas grabbed his arm. "We have no choice. Follow me." Above deck, the captain laughed. It was not a laugh of joy. It was the laughter of a predator cornering prey. His eyes gleamed. "I warned you," he said. "Obedience is survival. Rebellion is death." The prisoners finally reached the hatch. The glow enveloped them. The whispers grew louder. They looked back at the deck. The captain stood there, motionless, yet commanding every shadow. And then, the impossible happened. The ship shuddered. Chains rose into the air as if alive. A spectral wind ripped through the deck. The crew and prisoners screamed. Figures emerged from the shadows. Tall, dark, silent, eyes glowing. No one moved. No one dared breathe. The captain smiled, not a cruel smile, a triumphant one. He raised his cutlass. The figures obeyed. The storm of the sea, the storm of rebellion, was under his control. Below deck, Thomas and the others froze in terror. The hatch pulsed brighter. The whispers formed words, promises, warnings, threats. The captain's voice carried down. "Step forward, or vanish like the rest." The prisoners realized the truth. This was no ordinary pirate, no ordinary ship. The Crimson Serpent and its captain belonged to the sea itself, and it would not be defied. Fear, anger, and desperation collided. The night stretched into eternity. Every heartbeat was a countdown, every breath a prayer. The captain's laugh echoed once more. The sea roared, and the Crimson Serpent sailed on, taking its prisoners and its secrets into the unknown. If you want to see what happens when the impossible becomes reality, when the captain's darkest secrets are revealed, share this video. Comment your thoughts, and subscribe to witness the next terrifying chapter. The ship was no longer just a vessel. It had become a trap. And the prisoners were beginning to understand. Some places are not meant for the living. The Crimson Serpent sailed under a moonless sky. Mist clung to the rigging. The ocean below seemed darker than ink, deeper, endless. Below deck, the 42 prisoners huddled in fear. Chains had been loosened, but courage had not returned. Every creak, every whisper, every splash outside the hall made hearts pound faster. Thomas watched the glowing hatch. It pulsed softly, beckoning. The whispers grew louder, unintelligible yet terrifying. Some prisoners thought it was calling their names. Above deck, the captain moved like a shadow, eyes glinting, cutlass ready. His steps were silent on the wet wood. He didn't need to shout. Fear had become his language. Strange things began to happen. Ropes moved on their own. Lanterns flickered violently. Footsteps echoed where no one walked. And sometimes, fleeting shapes appeared in the corner of the prisoners' eyes. The crew whispered among themselves. "He's not human," one said. "No man can command the sea like that," another replied. Even the bravest men avoided his gaze. One prisoner, desperate for answers, finally spoke. "Captain, what is this place? What do you want from us?" Silence. Only the creak of the ship answered. That night, a strange wind swept through the ship. The sea boiled beneath them, waves taller than trees. The prisoners screamed, clinging to ropes and each other. The captain stood on deck, eyes closed, arms outstretched, commanding the storm itself. Thomas saw something terrifying through a crack in the hatch. Figures. Not fully human, not fully shadow. They drifted silently. Whispers rose, forming a chant that shook the very timbers of the ship. One prisoner ran, desperate, towards the hatch. A hand grabbed him, cold, strong. He screamed. Then, silence. The captain's laughter carried across the deck. Low, cruel, final. He circled the remaining prisoners like a wolf among sheep. Above deck, the crew began to panic. Ropes snapped, sailcloth tore, but the captain moved as if the chaos obeyed him. No one could touch him. No one could stop him. Below deck, Thomas and a small group approached the glowing hatch. They saw shapes moving inside. Some reached out to grab the prisoners. Others whispered promises. Others threats. The prisoners realized something horrifying. The hatch was not just a door. It was a gateway to somewhere no man should go. A scream erupted from above. The captain had claimed another. One by one, prisoners vanished into shadows. No trace remained. No splash. No cry. Only silence. Thomas clutched the others. "Stay together," he whispered. "Whatever's coming, we face it together." The captain appeared at the top of the stairs, eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. "Those who follow survive. Those who resist disappear." The prisoners realized obedience was no longer enough. This was no ordinary pirate. This was something older. Something the sea itself had given form. The ship sailed on. Waves swallowed the horizon. The storm roared, and the Crimson Serpent carried its prisoners deeper into a world of shadows and whispers, where few would ever return, if any at all. If you want to discover what happens when the hatch opens, the horrors inside, and the ultimate fate of the prisoners, share this video, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to uncover the next terrifying chapter of this cursed voyage. The sea had claimed many, but tonight it would claim more, and the Crimson Serpent would vanish, leaving nothing but whispers. The fog was thick, so thick the moonlight barely reached the deck. The Crimson Serpent creaked and groaned like a living thing. Its sails flapped violently in a wind that seemed alive. The 42 prisoners huddled in corners. Chains were useless now. Fear had bound them tighter than iron. Every sound made them jump. Every shadow whispered death. Thomas clutched his companions, eyes wide, breath shallow. He could feel the ship moving differently tonight, not with the rhythm of waves, but with intent. Above deck, the captain appeared, his coat drenched, hair plastered to his face, eyes glinting with a strange, unnatural light. A smile stretched across his face, a smile that promised oblivion. The hatch in the hold pulsed brighter. Whispers rose from the darkness below. The prisoners felt it calling, beckoning, daring them to step forward. One sailor finally spoke, voice trembling. "What is this place? What is this madness?" The captain's laugh rolled across the deck, low and cruel. "You think you understand madness?" he said. "You have not even begun." The ship shuddered violently. Chains flew through the air, lanterns shattered. A spectral wind ripped across the deck, cold and sharp as knives. The prisoners screamed, clinging to whatever they could. Thomas looked to the hatch. Figures moved inside, twisted and shadowed. Eyes glowed like coals. Hands reached out, not to help, but to pull the living down into darkness. The crew tried to intervene, but the captain waved a hand. They froze, rooted to the spot. No one could disobey him. No one could escape. The storm rose again. Waves taller than trees battered the ship. Lightning split the sky. Thunder shook the timbers. The Crimson Serpent heaved as if alive, guiding itself into deeper waters. Below deck, the prisoners made a desperate decision. They ran toward the glowing hatch, but the moment they touched it, a force threw them back. A scream erupted from Thomas. Chains wrapped around limbs. The shadows pulled with impossible strength. Above deck, the captain's voice rang out, calm and commanding. Obedience or oblivion? One by one the prisoners vanished. No splash, no sound. Just empty space where men had stood moments before. Thomas stumbled, dragged toward the hatch. The whispers promised release, freedom, salvation. But he knew the truth. The hatch led only to the unknown, to the abyss. The crew tried to fight, tried to save the prisoners, but the captain moved like the wind. Blades flashed, shadows obeyed him. No one could touch him, no one could stop him. And then, it happened. A sudden silence. The storm ceased. The sea calmed as if holding its breath. The Crimson Serpent drifted. The captain and all 42 prisoners gone. No trace remained. No screams. No bodies. Only the ship rocking gently in the dark water. The crew stared in disbelief. The wind whispered over the waves. The sea carried no answers. Legends later claim that the captain had become one with the sea, that the prisoners were taken to a place between worlds, that the Crimson Serpent itself was cursed to sail the Carolina coast, forever, unseen, unheard, a shadow in the mist. The crew fled when they could. No one spoke of the ship again, but fishermen swore they saw it in foggy mornings, sails black as death, cutting through the mist, and sometimes the faintest laughter carried across the water. If you want to uncover the full story, the theories, the legends, and the whispers that haunt the Carolina coast to this day, share this video, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to witness the final chapter and the chilling legacy of the Crimson Serpent. They disappeared without a trace. The captain, the prisoners, the Crimson Serpent. And what remained was a legend that still haunts the Carolina coast. The fog never fully lifted over the Carolina coast after that summer of 1714. Fishermen whispered of a ship that appeared only in mist, sails black as night, shadows where men should be, and sometimes laughter carried over the waves. The captain had vanished with 42 prisoners. No bodies, no wreckage, only the sea, endless, cold, and silent. Some believed the captain had made a pact with the ocean itself, a deal to command storms, shadows, and fear, a price that demanded obedience or eternal disappearance. Others whispered of mutiny gone wrong, that the prisoners had tried to rebel, that the sea punished them for defying a man it had chosen. Maps were drawn, searches were made. Treasure hunters tried to find the Crimson Serpent. None succeeded. Some claimed to have glimpsed the ship in foggy mornings, a fleeting shadow on the horizon, and then nothing. Stories grew, legends spread. Villagers told of strange lights in the water at night, of chains rattling on empty ships, of whispers calling sailors' names. Even the bravest men avoided that stretch of the coast. Cape Fear, Wilmington, all the way down to the Barrier Islands. No one ventured too close after sunset, and those who did returned pale, silent, haunted. Some historians suggest the captain had found a hidden island, a place no map dared mark, a sanctuary where he and the prisoners were trapped or saved from the world above. Treasure may have been there, gold, silver, secrets older than the colonies themselves. Others believe something darker, that the captain and his prisoners had been claimed by the sea, pulled into another realm, a place of shadows, whispers, and eternal night. Fishermen swore they saw the glow of lanterns at night, figures walking the deck of a ship that should not exist, and those brave or foolish enough to approach vanished. The Crimson Serpent became more than a ship. It became a story told in whispers, a warning, a legend. Generations later, children of the coast still hear tales of a pirate captain who vanished with 42 prisoners, of chains clinking in the fog, of a ship that appears only to those who dare look too closely. Some claim that if you sail on a foggy night and hear the faint sound of laughter, chains, or whispers, it is the captain testing the waters, testing fear, testing who might join him forever. The Carolina coast keeps secrets. Some say it has always had a dark heart, and in 1714 the Crimson Serpent became part of it, a ghost in the mist, a shadow on the waves, a warning for all who dared to seek power or disobey. Even today, treasure hunters, historians, and curious souls feel the pull. The same pull that once guided the captain, his crew, and the 42 prisoners. The same pull that may claim those who wander too close. The legend lives on. The sea remembers. And the Crimson Serpent waits. In the fog, in the shadows, in whispers that never die.